Connection. We're live. We live.
We are.
Sweet.
We're telling people so we can just send out. Oh, I thought people already joined. How do you send an invite?
We're gonna go live with Arin.
Arin, did you follow them?
Oh yeah, did you follow Base Range, Arin?
I just followed you, so follow them back.
Yeah.
And then we should find you.
Hello, Base Range community. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday morning.
Yeah, we need to mute this.
Yeah, we'll mute the thing. We're working with a lot of technology right now. We have a Zoom on one and then Instagram Live, so we're trying to coordinate.
Perfect.
Great. All right. I'm going to be talking with Arin Degroff today. Hi, Arin.
Hi, guys.
Oh, wow. You look stunning.
Thank you.
I like your braids.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm getting a little bit of an echo. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Also, if you want, you can just mute Zoom, and then we will sync up the audio from Instagram Live.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's better. There we go.
Probably. Oh, hi from Japan.
Oh, we love that. Hi, Japan.
Hi, Japan.
There was Korea back there too. I saw someone.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I love that.
We
We got the world with us
Arin's
today.
Yeah. So for Arin, I mean, since this is your first time, and for anybody joining us for the first time, this is our second Base Range community conversation. We were here last month in August. We were lucky to talk to Andre Lavelle, but today we have Arin Degroff, and Arin is a special person. She is very involved with activism these days. She's an artist, and she's also out here with us in Los Angeles, and we're lucky to talk to her today about her activism and what she is doing to bring change to the world today.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes to our invitation, and for getting ready to share your wisdom to the world.
Of
Our
course.
audience from all over the world.
Yeah. Hudson Valley and Japan. We're gonna try to read comments and talk to you at the same time, but
let's do it.
Yeah. All right, Arin, would you please share a brief introduction about yourself to our audience so that we can start from there?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, first, thanks again for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you two again and chat with all of the lovely friends that we have with us. So I could go on for forever about what I do and who I am, but to keep it fairly simple, I'm an artist. I dabble in the mediums of painting, writing, photography, body work, energy work, massage therapy, activism in the last 4 months. And right now my world, aside from my art, consists of being kind of on the front lines here in LA as the revolution unfolds in America. So yeah, that's a short, very condensed version of my life right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna tap into that 5 months of your life now.
We're gonna
get into that.
Perfect.
But yeah, so you did say 5 months, right? So your organization is called We the Movement LA, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And so how did you get involved? What is that story, and how's it going now?
So on May 30th, LA experienced a series of riots and police brutality and just a very large moment of distress in our community. For those of the people that are on here that are from LA, at Pan Pacific Park, but also just near Fairfax, so that side of town, on May 30th, some unfortunate events went down. And that following week, a series of really large protests kind of exploded all around the city. And so that Tuesday, myself and a friend of mine went out to Hollywood to a protest that YG called. And YG didn't show up. So there was like 2,000, if not more, people just like aimlessly wandering the streets. And me and a group of people that I did not know and they did not know me kind of all just naturally started leading. By the end of the protest, we got people home safely. There was no arrests, no casualties, like nothing that had been happened with that group. And so it was kind of beautiful to us. And by the end of it, we were like, okay, let's do a protest again tomorrow and the next day. And then by the end of the week, we had broken the record for the largest protest in LA. Now we hold that second ranking because there's been a lot more protests, which is beautiful. We love it. But yeah, we became a group a week after of protesting together consecutively for that first week of meeting one another. And now we're about 4, almost 5 months in.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the age group of your group of Rhythm Movement?
So our youngest is just turned 21. I think we might still have someone that's 20, which is awesome.
Wow.
And I think our eldest is about 35. We're 17 strong, but we also have people, like in terms of our core group, but we also have so many age, like bigger than that, of age ranges supporting us. So it's beautiful, honestly, to see everyone come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. But when you look back before May 30th, before you guys started this movement, do you think your life has changed drastically? How do you see your life now?
I think it's double parted, right? Like everyone in the world experienced Corona, so everyone's lives drastically changed, even in the last just year. So like, yes, life has changed, but it's also a point in my life where I feel everything that I have experienced has given me the tools and has built me to be prepared for what's happening now. So like maybe in some subconscious part of my mind, I'm like, yes, I knew this was going to be how it happened. But either way, yeah, life has definitely changed. And it's blows my mind every day.
Yeah. But it's good work though, right? I mean, and in 5 months, I'm sure you feel like you've changed personally, and I hope that you feel like you've encountered some sort of change from your own efforts, from We the Movement's efforts.
Yeah, most definitely. I think all change, despite how uncomfortable it is great change. Whether you see it in the moment or you see it later. So there's definitely been parts of the movement, not even necessarily the group, but just the movement that's happening right now in general, that have been challenging and emotional and difficult. But it's building this resilience in myself, and I also think in my group. The biggest change that I've seen just in LA and the community within my group is this idea around unity and being able to like put our differences aside and still unify under one idea, which is, we're looking for equality on all fronts, the simple statement of Black Lives Matter, so being able to unify under that is great. And like, I think that's the first step to seeing the bigger changes that we want to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you wake up in the morning and you know that you're going to protest, as a lot of us, all over the world watch it in the news, it looks dangerous, and we are just so proud of young people who are there peacefully protesting and knowing also that their life might be at risk. And you were one of those. You're one of those young people. How do you prepare in the morning, and what comes in your mind? Are you scared? Are you afraid? Are you like, I have to go and do this? How are your feelings before you go into the streets?
Yeah, I love that question. Honestly, each time is really different. Yeah. Like weekly, if not daily, things are changing on the front lines in the streets. So, you know, there's been some mornings that I've woken up knowing that I had to protest, and I've been nervous, quite frankly, because of different attacks and certain energies and things that we've been seeing from our police force. And so there's been definitely days where nerves hit me. But
Right.
I like to start every morning with like intentionally breathing and intentionally like grounding myself, um, and deciding before anything, before I interact with anyone, before I go out and I'm on the streets in this like collective energy of like, hey, things are going wrong here. I ground myself. So like when I'm out on the street, if anything does happen, I'm alert, I'm aware. Um, but more than anything, it feels, you know, that feeling that you have when it's something that you're supposed to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you do it and you're like, oh wow, this feels good. Um,
Yeah.
because our protests are peaceful, that is like what we pride ourselves in terms of like the community that we've built. Um, yeah, I say that ultimately the feeling ends up being feeling like safe and protected and feeling unified with my people. So I don't necessarily like let the fear take over.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you let your drive of what you know needs to be done kind of outweigh the fear. And I'm happy that you acknowledge that there is still nervousness, there is still fear there, because you're still human, right? Like you're not going to just go into this fearless. You know the risks, but it's very admirable that you continue to do so anyway, I think.
Yeah, honestly, everyone that has been like showing up consistently, like every single day, every single week, like even when they're, you know, there's been times where I haven't been out and there's been people like 20 deep, like facing an army full of police in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely one of those things that like it's not, everyone doesn't have that in them. There's so many different ways to show up. But it's definitely not something to just like take lightly either. You know,
Right.
we know what we're getting ourselves into when we go outside. Yeah. So shout out, I commend everyone. Shout out to everyone
And
doing that.
you're all there for each other and protecting each other.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's beautiful. So Arin, it takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to go out there, which I applaud you as well. And what when you think of vulnerability, what does that mean to you?
Mm. Um, Vulnerability to me, the first word and feeling that comes to mind is that exact smile you're giving me, like, oh. um,
Yeah.
but honestly, like, it is probably the greatest gift of life to like step into anything vulnerable, anything scary. Like stepping into truth to me is vulnerability, whether that is your own truth or whether that's a truth that you're seeing outside of you, right? Being able to like engage with that and be have the courage to like step into those things and do the work. Vulnerability is not something that is easy or meant to be easy, but it gets easier. I don't know, for a suggestion for really great videos for everybody, Brene Brown on vulnerability. It's a TED Talk. It's amazing. You should check it out. But yes, brief answer to vulnerability. That's another like can of worms to open.
Right. Um, so I'm just curious. Maybe you already touched on this, but why do you feel so inclined to go out in the streets as a young person? I mean, we all can show our activism in different ways, right? But why do you feel like you choose to go about it the way that that you do?
Part of it is um, feeling just like my instinct, like knowing that this is how I want to show up right now, and feeling a sense of responsibility, especially in our generation, of being the people that are taking the baton right now from the older generation that showed up in the 60s, but also feeling responsible towards like building bridges for the next generation. So it's work that has to be done. I feel in my heart and in my life, I have the tools and the capacity to show up. So I am. And everyone that's been standing with me and beside me, I think feels similar ways, you know, it's just, it's like, no question. It's like, okay, what else would I be doing right now?
Yeah.
I know there's plenty of other things to be doing, but either way, it's I'm honored to show up and use my voice and encourage other people to do the same thing and just share my story, share my tools. I think people are going back to this idea of vulnerability. It's our most vulnerable part of life right now. It's raw, you know, people are scared, people don't know what to do. And there's so many lingering questions. So like if we can create, if the movement can create, if in general as communities we can create safe spaces for people to be able to come and be vulnerable and speak and talk about all the craziness going on, even just that is like how I want to keep showing up, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. When you talk to your mom, do you remember because your mom is a generation before in the 60s, so they have a little different experience than we do. Do you see from her stories, do you see any like relevant things that are reoccurring, like that are happening again and again, like history repeating itself?
Yeah, the most plain and simple one, cops are still killing black people, still murdering black people for something as simple as riding their bike in a neighborhood. Dion Kinsey died a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago, 10 minutes from my house, riding a bike in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, unarmed. So that right there alone is still happening. I don't think too much has changed. I think it's just taken different shape and in a different face. And where we have the opportunity now to because of social media, but also just like our generation has the power to stand up and face it in a different, more unified way. You know, we have allies on our hand now that we did not have back in the 60s and the 50s in our parents' generation. And in a different way there was, but everything is a little bit different now, which is to our benefit, I think.
Right.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it.
Yeah, and more on allies. I mean, your interaction with people who may not feel oppressed or may not be oppressed, they come up to you in these protests, I'm sure, and they are curious about like what they can do, like how can they help. They see the issues as clear as day now. You know, like you mentioned, we're in a pandemic. You know, we have our phones in our faces all the time. It's kind of hard to avoid these truths now. So how do you embrace these allies who may not know exactly what to do, and what advice would you or do you give to them?
So a lot of allies are just showing up on their own accord, which is great. There's a family from San Diego that we love that has just been coming up like consistently every protest we've had, every event that we've had. And they're my favorite example, showing up, asking how they can help and be a part, but really just like simply showing up, and by asking is them doing more than like we could ask for. And then being able to take their experience back to their communities and to their family and show them and tell them, hey, look, I was a part of a peaceful protest, or look, I have a community of people of color, of black people around me now where we are engaged in their culture and their events, and have been brought around other people in their community and have enjoyed our time. Just I think showing up and engaging honestly is what I know for me, what I encourage allies to keep doing. And personal experience for anyone, despite your color, is the greatest teacher. So yeah, that's that for me. There's so many different avenues that I feel our allies and different groups are educating allies to take, but really just continued education through personal experience and through showing up is my favorite route. Yeah.
So when someone comes to you, and because I feel like allies come from different how can I say,
The backgrounds or
different backgrounds, but also they have some have less knowledge about, about Black Lives Matter, or they just started, or others have some ideas they think they're right. How do you create space for all of them to feel embraced and not feel shut down or be scared of even approaching someone like you?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it all comes down to like the language that we use and how we speak to people, right? There's a stark difference in being at a protest, right? And like screaming and yelling at people and like letting our anger and our rage like come through vibrationally, like when we're talking to people and marching. That's a complete different feeling than like going out and marching with people and engaging in conversation with them, showing people, hey, look, we all come from a different place. We all may be feeling different, but like we're unified under one idea right now. Something that I like to do with the crowd is ask a series of questions, right? To show people our alikeness, but also to show our differences. So like, hey, raise your hand if in the last 2 months you've been feeling sad. Raise your hand if in the last 2 months you've been feeling angry and you don't know how to show up. I make everyone look around. And usually everybody's hand is raised. Doesn't matter what color. You can be Mexican, you can be white, you
We're
can be
all
black.
human. Yeah.
Exactly. We're all
Right.
human.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that alone makes people feel like, oh, I'm in a safe community right now, just outside on the streets with these, couple hundred people, if not less. And I feel then just creating that precedent allows people to feel safe to like come and approach and share their point of view without feeling like, oh, I'm going to get attacked if I think or express myself differently than this person.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I do love that. Yeah. So you've been protesting, you've been speaking up, you've been you've been active, like constantly every day, if it's not every other day. Do you see change, or do you have hope for change?
Yeah.
How does that look like for you?
I love this question. Yeah, I think hope is useful if action follows, right? We can hope for change of anything, but I think what our generation and our society all around the world now is realizing, okay, we can hope and wish and pray and meditate and want to manifest, but like there's this real life element of like actually doing the work and taking divine action, or just taking action in general to like build towards what you're hoping for.
Right.
So yeah, hope is useful. Yeah, I have hope, but I'm so focused right now on intention rather than hope, and action, like action based hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I mean, even with people people who want to do stuff, like not just allies, but people who are kind of in the thick of it, a lot of times it can either be scary or it can be kind of demoralizing. You see all these waves of negativity come through, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Like I know this person's doing this person's doing that, but maybe if I just hope that something happens, things are eventually going to blow over. I think that's a lot of people's mindsets. But I'm happy that you brought up action in that. It's one thing to hope, and then it's another thing to, to the best of your ability, you actually go forth and do stuff. Take as much action as you can that suits your lifestyle or however you want to show up.
Even having this conversation, like even if it won't be public like this, be live, but having it with your kids, having it with your parents, and just create that whole dialogue of like making our humanity better.
I know everything in the world right now is really uncomfortable, especially like the political climate and the racial climate. Everything is uncomfortable, but like digging directly into that discomfort, on the other side of that is truth. It's something so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I really encourage people and that type of vulnerability to like keep digging in, because for generations, right, we've seen the same thing. Like, that's not happening. Oh, I don't see that. It's like, no, guys, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
It won't work for us.
It
Old
won't.
cycles have to be let go.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have another question?
Well, yeah. What do you what brings you joy? I mean,
Mm.
in life and through your work, what is fulfilling for you?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can look back at it and be like, that was fulfilling. That was
Yeah.
joyful. I'm a better
Yeah.
person now.
So, and on a personal, outside of like the movement things, joy for me looks like dancing, looks like singing, looks like being with my family, with my friends, seeing joy in their lives, being able to like see people break through hard times, I think is also something that brings me a lot of joy. I'm like, wow, I feel like proud older sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love love. Love brings me joy. But inside of the movement, I think the things that has brought me the most joy is truly being out on the streets and chanting with people and like sharing this unified like pain and a longing for like, change and for things to shift dramatically, like being able to not feel alone in that. Oh,
Mhm.
like it's joy, but it's also just like a sense of like, oh, I can breathe because I'm not the only one feeling all of these things right now, and I don't know how to like process it. So
Right.
that alone is like a
Yeah.
joyful sight, just to
Yeah.
see all types of people together, like, hey, cool, we're here, we're showing up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to cultivate that community and that
Mhm.
sense of growth as one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So what's your message to young folks who are growing up not right now or who are already grown ups, but
Mhm.
what's your message to them about especially our world today and I don't and for them and how they can make a difference, what steps they can take, things
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, First, we're in the age of information, right? So like educate yourself. If you don't know something, you have ample amount of resources to research and find what you resonate with and find what's true for you in your life or in your country or in your state or wherever you are. And also to look at the how history is cycling through, right?
Yeah.
So educating yourself on the past, finding tools to bring yourself present and know what's happening now, and then start building foundations for the future.
Yeah.
So that looks, different for everybody, and that's
Mhm.
completely fine.
Yeah.
So even in that, knowing that how I show up, or Dydine, how you show up, or Alex, how you show up, that may look different for all of us, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but when we find what works for us, honoring that and being in that.
Mhm.
And
Right.
then towards the future, again, our generation, both, millennials and Gen Y, are they Y?
Gen Z? No.
Z, Y,
What?
Z.
X, Y, Z.
I have no idea.
You know
X,
what
Y,
I
Z.
mean? Sorry, guys. No, but all of us as a collective, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that like what we're doing right now and the work that we're doing, even if showing up, for example, is like you sharing your art, sharing your voice, knowing that doing that is encouraging someone else in the future to be able to do so. Like if we did not have the civil rights movement,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be encouraged to show up how we're showing up now, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much like it's building blocks, right? And you're talking about passing of the torch, and it's like a generational thing.
Mhm.
If the civil rights movement, if MLK didn't do what he did, if Malcolm X didn't do what he did, then we wouldn't have this platform today.
Right.
And the same thing goes for today. Like if we're not doing what we're doing today, the generation 20, 30, 40 years down the line, also won't have that thing. So it's a very cyclical thing. And I think hopefully it's empowering us to, make more change, and things will get better. We'll get stronger. Our voices will get stronger, and hopefully more unified as a result.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We need a new hope action word.
Yeah. Hope action.
Yeah. So
Hope actually.
Hope actually.
So in the next 15 minutes, we dedicate our time to our audience so they can ask any questions.
Yeah, I saw so many questions rolling through.
Yeah.
We promised we weren't ignoring you guys. We were just
trying to get the whole speech out there for 30 minutes.
There's one that I saw that actually kind of caught my eye when I was talking. So I kind of got weird for a second, but there's one from Black Lives Matter, South Pasadena. Shout out to them. They've been holding it down. There's a comment about, do you know the police just raided Black Unity, downtown LA, beat and arrested, act with news. I did not know that. That's new information to me as of right now. Black Unity has been protesting in front of City Hall, downtown Los Angeles, consistently for the last 4.5 months, sleeping outside in tents, like straight up there every single day. And Act with News, follow him. He is a phenomenal human, but also just someone who has been there on the grounds with us from like week one, documenting everything, everything that's happening. So he's like in and out of all the groups, showing real life media in real time, what's actually happening on the streets. So yeah, thank you for letting me know about that. Sorry to bombard your questions, guys. Go ahead.
No.
No, it's okay. We're also scrolling through to make sure we
didn't miss anything.
We didn't miss anybody.
I would just ask you a few questions myself.
Okay, go for it. Also, thanks for staying on live, everyone who's on here.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So Arin, you had an accident a while back. Sometimes I feel like the more things we go, the more hard stuff we go through, it creates a thick skin in a way for us. Would you share a little bit of how you were doing before the accident, and how the accident changed your life, or your perspective towards life? I feel like people relate to that.
I was fairly young when the accident happened. I was sophomore in college, so like what, 20? If that, 20. The accident itself was an event that caused me to lose feeling on the entire left side of my body for 2 years. So it was a journey of not knowing if I was ever gonna like feel or be, normal again. So it put my mind in this place of like fight or flight, but also like being able to be functional in that like bodily experience. So it taught me a really valuable lesson of empathy, one, for people who don't have an answer to their chronic pain, right? That there is no cure, or there is nothing that anyone can do to help. But also taught me resilience in a way that I hadn't learned it yet. So like knowing, hey, despite the amount of pain that you're in, if you continue to move forward, right? Like that's the best thing that you can do for yourself, instead of like continuing to let like the pain and all the things that come with that like eat your spirit alive. So yeah, it changed me drastically. It opened me and expanded me to further my journey and my art. It opened me to really just like the divine, magical part of life. Pain is, I think, our greatest teacher if we allow it to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the question.
I think those moments, they're like highlights in our lives, and they when we survive something like that, it makes us look at life differently and appreciate it even more, because it's almost like a second chance you've just been given.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so it helps to see life completely different and be more graceful, I would think. Yeah.
That's like
Um,
the biggest thing, grace for ourselves and for other people.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Mm.
Yeah. So for those of you who have been watching, Arin has been part of We the Movement. It's they have an Instagram handle. We can just add it in our
We the movement
.la.
.la. That's right.
yeah, can you type it in?
Yeah.
With the movement.la, and you can go on their page if you we like to support a nonprofit here when we're doing these talks. So if you would like to support them, they have a link in their bio on their GoFundMe account. If you want to support them, you can just go on their bio,
Yeah.
click on that link, and support them. So
That's
that's also another way of showing up
Mm-hmm.
it is another way of showing up because all of us are
with
doing
your
this
pocket.
for free.
For free. Right.
But no, that's the best part though. Like so people know and are aware, the money goes towards us being able to like continue to put on more events. So like for example, we did a Juneteenth event, a 5th of July event. We had some artists come, all that showed up and did everything for free. But even being able to just like keep you guys safe with like food and water and
Yeah.
gas in our cars so we can like keep
Yeah.
people protected, these type of things is what you would be donating to.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you don't want to support in that way, that is totally fine. I understand it's a pandemic, like we all have coinage to save.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had a protest yesterday in
Mhm.
the neighborhood of Leimert Park. You can show up that way and march with us if you're local. If you're not local, reach out over Instagram, message us, ask us questions. We have a Go Vote campaign rolling right now. So if you are in America, go vote, please.
That's
And
a way. That's another way too.
It's a
Like
way
that's
yes,
a very,
that is
very
another
important way of showing up.
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so honestly, there's so much that we can tap into, and a lot as a group that we're tapping into. So just follow us if anything at all, and we're gonna continue to be a bit more active on social media as well as continuing to show up how we can in the streets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's something you mentioned the other day when we were interviewing you for the podcast about one of you guys' goals is to build the our communities of color around the city or around the country because they're the communities of color are more marginalized than other communities,
Right.
and that's one of your goals. Can you tap into that a little bit?
Yeah, so the idea is wanting to do what we're already doing in terms of like being able to just gather people within the Black community, but allies, everyone, gather people under one idea, that we're supporting Black lives, but we also, it's even further than Black lives. I think we're fighting this like the powers that be and the people, if anything. So really, I think the best thing that we as a collective of human beings, right, can do right now is continue to like build a new foundation. So like if we can do what we're doing in LA and unify people under this name of like culture and Black culture, right? Then we can do that in other states as well. And that's really what we want to see recreated. But like it's not just we the movement's responsibility. It's not just my responsibility. It's not just you two's responsibility. There's groups in every single state right now. There's people, individuals, collectives all showing up. And so I think as long as we continue to like do the work and make the noise and communicate, unification on the scale that we're wanting it is doable. And I don't think anyone has a direct answer right now, but I do think building new foundation, like showing people useful tools, right? Like even something as simple as like, okay, this is how you grow food. This is how you can get water, and this is how you breathe and meditate, and this is how we ground, and maybe this is a tool you can use to ground yourself before you go and face the world outside. Yeah, so I think, yeah, unifying under that. I feel like I've said the word unify a trillion times, but the most important word.
Yeah, exactly. It's the core of what you're doing, the core of what we're doing, you know, having these conversations with our lovely community here. And even just being able to, and we like to use the word or the phrase holding space, holding space for each other, and embracing ourselves, embracing the community, and particularly for those who aren't local. Because I mean, there's a lot of people here who are overseas, not in the States. And for them to be able to be involved or at least just listen to this conversation, and see that only thing that, I mean, anybody wants is that unity, and is to be able just to embrace one another.
Absolutely.
I think that's an important thing, and I'm lucky. Dean, I think you feel the same way. We're all lucky to be able just to be in this moment and to share ourselves with everybody.
With everybody.
Oh, thank you guys. You are king and queen of holding space right now.
Oh, we're doing it.
We try.
We're trying.
Oh, thank you guys so much. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom, sharing your story, your work with our audience. We thank everybody who was able to stay on and asking questions and saying hi from, I saw bonjour from probably France, Paris, we're all these countries, Denmark, everyone, we're all human, all we want is happiness. So let's give it to one another, and our world will be a better place. So please go ahead and support with the movement if you can, or come or reach out to Arin and be part of the peaceful protest that's happening. What else?
Come to America.
Come to America. Come to You're funny. These discussions happen every month. It's the second Sunday of a month. So we will see you again on the second Sunday. And anything else? Yeah, well, thanks again for joining us and supporting us and embracing us for our second live stream. Once again, we're lucky to talk to Arin and to just gain insight into what different people are working to accomplish here. And we're just blessed to be able to to be here. So thank you so much. All right. Bye. 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 Peace. Bye.